Thank you, John. Roll call, please. Mr. Day, why don't you start?
John Day,
Joseph Analetta.
Aaron Farbo, Doug Porter,
David Morse.
Mark Blackmer,
Amy Monahan?
Dwight Ryanowitz.
Okay, we can see all three of our alternates today. So Amy, Dwight, and John are seated. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey. For Tuning Chair reports, I just want to welcome everybody here. Nice to have so many people in attendance in the audience. Do we have any citizens' comments not related to, unrelated to the stuff we're going to cover tonight? Hearing none. With meeting minutes from the 22nd and the 5th.
I move to accept the meeting minutes from January 22nd, 2026 as presented,
You want to do both together or do you want to do separately?
one at a time.
Okay, I don't care.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'd like to abstain, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Did you get that, Dottie? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, was that Dwight's voice?
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
February 5th minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve minutes for February 5th.
Second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Once again, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to abstain.
Okay, thank you, Dwight. Dwight abstained again, Dottie. We have no public hearing. No new business. And we're
Sorry,
on to
Mr. Chair, we do have new business. There was an application sent around yesterday.
Okay, it wasn't on the minutes, that's all. I wasn't listed under the.
Oh,
The
that's,
new-
you probably had a print up that was printed before yesterday, but there was an agenda addition. I'll put it up on the screen.
Okay,
It is an application for change of use at 253 Route 169, which is a small commercial building. It's the former Coco's Cottage, basically across the intersection from Route 171 and 169 intersection near the Woodstock Fair, owned by the Miller family. The applicant is Haley Kuhn, who has a business in Putnam, I believe, and is looking to relocate her business, which is tattoo and permanent makeup studio with an associated art gallery, and some additional in the existing commercial space. So the most recent use of the space was basically retail commercial. The applicant is proposing to change it to basically personal services, which is a change of use per the zoning regulations. A change of use in the community district between two commercial uses requires a special permit, and that is what is being requested.
okay, so does it require a public hearing?
It is a special permit, so that requires a public hearing statutorily.
Okay, so
In the file at this point is just the application documentation, and it's not scanned, unless it's here. There is that's it. She included a survey that's in the folder in front of you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
That is basically in existing conditions. There's no physical or structural changes proposed to the building or the property. So no changes in pavement, no changes in parking, lighting, signage. Well, and signage will be swapped, but so the existing conditions survey, I believe, produced in 1991 or so, is basically proposed to be the site plan. I have also filled out, I didn't make copies. I filled out a special permit checklist that's in the record folder. Basically the primary thing that we're missing is a narrative, sort of an extended narrative describing the use, the hours of operation, the employees, and potential responses to the potential impacts that guide the commission's decision on a special permit. I reached out to the applicant today. Again, we received this yesterday. I reached out to the applicant today with that request prior to the public hearing. But so essentially, this is a new application, requires a special permit, requires a public hearing. You usually just need to receive and schedule the hearing.
So, okay, I'm just going over the checklist. It says traffic report. Is that required?
No, that's an optional. If you believe it's necessary, you can request it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't. It's not going to be a traffic heavy business anyway.
John?
Well, yes, sir.
John, would the applicant have to request that waiver of the different items like the traffic survey in writing?
I believe not the traffic report. I believe there's a couple of categories. There are certain things that need to be in the site plan and the application package. Waivers are required for those, but there are sort of additional reports that the commission can require that would include the traffic report. So in this case, again, there is no, as far as I understand, no new curb cut proposed. It's an existing building with an existing parking lot on an existing driveway on an existing state road, and none of that is proposed to change. So you have it, I believe, in your authority to require one, but it is not a standard requirement of the application.
Got another question, if that's okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Is this a modification to a special permit or just a new special permit?
It's a new special permit because it's a change of use. A modification would be some sort of expanded use of an existing operation.
Because that property was not operating under a special permit before?
It was.
But it's a different use.
Yeah, it's a different use. It's a difference between retail and personal services.
So any conditions of approval for the previous special permit are voided with this
Correct.
application for a new special permit? Okay, so
Correct.
they're really pertinent to the discussion here.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I will scan. I apologize. Again, this came in yesterday. We do have that survey map in the file. It was not scanned, I guess, by staff, but we'll include that.
John, can you tell us this is Doug Porter, tell us what the certification is on that plan? Is it to a A2 survey or is it a D?
I'd have to check. It was signed by Brad. It had the meets and bounds. I assume it was an A2, but I can check. Actually, well, your chairman has it in his hands right there. Perhaps he can tell you.
You want to look at it? It's A2 boundary surgery.
Right. I thought it was because I remember the Millers when they originally asked for it, but I don't want to surprise the applicant next month and then all of a sudden have an issue with it.
Yep.
So do we need to hide? Well, that will be in the public hearing. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have all the I's dotted and T's crossed so that.
And again, it would not be, I mean, in terms of there's a form and a map and a fee paid, and signatures. So I would say it is, an application that is worthy of receipt. I wouldn't say it's complete, because I think we're missing an important narrative, but again, that can be submitted prior to the hearing.
Would we be scheduling a hearing tonight or waiting till we know we've got all documents?
No. You have a live application. You need to schedule the hearing to open in 65 days or less.
Okay.
And John, this is just me asking questions. Doug Porter again. If the application isn't complete, do we still have to schedule a public hearing? And
Yes.
I'm not talking about this application. I'm talking about future applications.
Yes.
Even if it's not complete, we still have to
Yes.
schedule. Okay,
But we could schedule it like 2 meetings out, like 2 months out.
you have to do it in that
Yeah,
65.
But there's Doug, to your question, there was case law in the city of Hartford
I thought-
where staff repeatedly refused receipt of applications that they deemed incomplete. And the court basically said, you know, if there's a filled out application and a paid fee, it's a live application. Timeframes apply. You know, if when you open the hearing, materials are not in place, then you deny it. But you can't give them the stiff arm to even open the hearing if they've filled out a form and paid a fee.
Okay, thanks, John.
Is that one last?
Joe, go ahead, Joseph.
Yes, do we need to wait for any certificate from the health department because it's a tattoo parlor? Any requirements for a health department approval? I'm not familiar with what.
Well, I mean, we'll need a health department we'll need a health department form for change of use. That was not submitted. And I think I noted that in the checklist. But in terms of tattoo, that's a matter for consumer protection or public health. That's not necessarily the purview of this body. So it's, similar to fire code or building code. But that they there is someone else in charge of saying if that's valid or not, and it is not you.
So that's like a state licensing board.
Correct.
He needs to get her licenses, and those are approved by Department of Health, I assume.
Right.
Okay. So,
But she would, I mean, if that is required by public health, she would not be able to open legally until she has it. But that's a different hoop she has to jump through.
She's here.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I did all this work. Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry.
John, and I'm not being argumentative with you, but I just go to our special permit requirements, and under 3G, it says any other certifications is required by any law or regulation, including approvals or waivers from any federal, state, or regional, county, or local agency. So wouldn't that not require the health department to give us a sign off?
It's sort of a matter of operations. Do you give someone a special permit before they've gotten their building permit, which is also a certification or permit, that is required by state, federal, or local law?
Well, and that's quite honestly an issue I have with the building office, because they tell me they won't give me a building permit until I have a zoning approval.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been told by the zoning people, I can't get a zoning building permit I can't get a zoning approval until I get the building permit. So yes, I understand it's the catch-22.
Yeah, I'm not sure what office is telling you can't get a zoning permit until you have a building permit, because that is incorrect. But I don't think it was me, was it, Doug?
This discussion isn't about you guys, but this is
It's
just
nothing to do with
this is an informational.
One thing I wanted to mention,
If you stand up and state your name, please.
my name's Carol Reinhardt.
Yeah.
The property has to be rehabilitated for her to go in there, so she needs sinks and things like that. The health department probably wouldn't approve it until those renovations took place. She will be renting, so in order to do the renovations, she needs to have a lease in place and get permitting done. So I'm not sure how that process would work, but just to let you know, she will be getting those health department approvals for the space, but she has to have the sinks first.
Yeah. Okay.
And things up.
Yes, Doug.
This has nothing to do with your application. This is the commission talking with our agent, so that we're all, because we have a new agent.
We don't want to scare you. This
This is just us getting our feet, so we understand the process, of all the members and our agent, so that we're all on the same path.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Sure.
And will the applicant be ready for the public hearing next month?
Yeah, I can be ready whenever.
Well, it'll probably be our next regular
Yeah.
meeting.
That's fine. Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I don't want to schedule it and then have you
No,
not say, oh, I'm not.
definitely works. for me.
Okay. So if somebody would like a minute.
I would make a motion that we schedule a public hearing for this application for our meeting on March 19th, Thursday, March 19th.
I second that.
2026.
7:45
p.m.
What?
7:45 p.m.
7:45?
Doug seconded it.
You taking it? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Okay. That.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, did you say it was John Day who seconded?
No, Doug Porter.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Thank
see,
you.
I get the.
Thank you.
Okay. On to, is there any other new business that I don't see in front of me? No,
No, that is it.
and that's it. Old business, application number 673-02-26, 103 Rawson Road, 2-lot subdivision. Yes.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Daniel Blanchett, licensed civil engineer, land surveyor. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, the Kremer's family, to seek your approval for a subdivision to create one new building lot for a single family house. The address is 103 Rawson Road in Woodstock. The site's about 100 acres, and they're proposing to cut off 6 acres so that their daughter can build a new house. We did discuss this application in detail at last month's meeting. There's been one small change. After there was a comment made by the zoning commission, there is a wetland crossing with a culvert. I had originally proposed a 12-inch culvert. Someone had recommended a 15-inch culvert. The wetland commission had a similar recommendation. Therefore, I have revised my plans to specify a 15-inch pipe under the driveway. That's the only change that has been made. We now have health department approval. We received the wetland department approval a couple weeks ago. And I'm hoping that you will vote to approve this project. I think it's pretty simple and straightforward. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just have a question. Your point with using the smaller pipe was to say that you'd have a less impact on the wetlands. How much difference did it make when you went to the larger pipe?
It didn't make that much difference, actually, once I checked it.
Okay. It's not our authority, but I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, no, in the end, I was able to make it work without disturbing more wetland. So it was a good suggestion.
Okay, great. Do any other commissioners have any other comments on this? I know we discussed this a lot last time it was in front of us.
Does John have any?
John, do you have any commissions? Have they got everything in line and all their ducks
Yeah,
in a row?
Mr. Blanchett pointed out the two pending issues, which was the wetlands approval and health approval, and both of those are in place. So it is set to be acted upon.
Okay. Does anybody have any more comments?
I'll make a motion to approve application 673-020-26. That's correct?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved.
All right, thank you for your time, everyone. Have a terrific evening.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is the discussion of the draft multifamily zoning regulations. We had quite a long discussion 2 weeks ago on this. John, have you?
Yes. So I wanted to, following up last meeting's discussion, which focused on a couple of things. One that was relatively clear to me, one that I wanted to still revisit with you folks. So you recall we are talking about what we would call middle housing, which is basically 2, 3, and 4 unit residential on a single lot. That would, distinguish itself from a revised definition of multifamily, which would be 5 units or more. And there were a couple of issues that kind of came up at the last discussion. One was the location, and we had the initial proposal was to allow these middle housing developments, again, 2, 3, or 4 units, basically anywhere in town that had a minimum of 2.5 acres. So any residential lot that had 2.5 acres. There was some discussion and I think some consensus on the commission that was a bit too wide ranging, too broad an allowance. And per Mr. Porter's suggestion that, perhaps we should put some geographic limitations on it along major roadways within proximity of town schools and town services. So what I have proposed in this latest draft is a new definition, which is on the screen right now, called focused development area, which is defined as a parcel or a group of parcels in the town of Woodstock, suitable for a higher density of development activity by virtue of its location within one of the following, having frontage along a state highway or state numbered road, being within 3 miles of Woodstock Academy or Woodstock Public School, or being connected to public sewer or public water service lines. So that limits the geographic scope essentially to, again, linearly along 171, 197, 198, and 169. And then basically if you picture Woodstock as a, bisected into 4 quadrants, basically the southeast quadrant, which is the area within 3 miles of the schools. And coincidentally, not surprisingly, that also encompasses the entirety of the sewer and water service area. So that would be, so that's the geographic delineator. And then what I did correspondingly, as I'm scrolling way too rapidly, in the community district, this is Article 3B, community district permitted uses, number 2. So these are the as of right uses. Added the qualifier of middle housing dwelling, not to include accessory apartments, and within a focused development area. And then in the special permit category, number 3 would be, again, middle housing dwelling, not to include accessory apartments, outside a focused development area. So again, a middle housing development, 2, 3, 4 units would be allowed, again, anywhere in town with 2.5 acres or more. It's an as of right in the focused development area. And beyond that, it would be a special permit in which, you guys would have discretion and look at things like buffering and noise and lighting and plantings and things like that. So that was the one major change, or again, this is going to be a gradual iterative process. So that was the change I made. The one thing that I did not get consensus on, and so I did not touch at this time, is the question of these 2, 3, or 4 units in a single building or as separate buildings. And there was a lot of discussion on that, and I don't think I got a consensus. So I'm happy to answer questions about the focused development area, but if we can reach some consensus on the single building versus multi-buildings, that would help. So that's where I'm the focus of the discussion tonight.
Okay, well, we went back and forth on the multi-buildings and single building. I think you brought it up, Doug, but it never occurred to me that somebody would do multiple single buildings, especially as a rental, just because it seems like it would be much more expensive to build. But like I said, just because we didn't think of it, doesn't mean somebody won't do it. Do we have any more input on that?
I think that multiple buildings could be desirable to some people, and you're still saving money on the land purchase and if it's a shared septic and those type of things. So having to do your own for each, if you're sharing, it's still making it more affordable. So I would like to see both of them offered as the discretion of the builder or the developer or the property owner.
It might be workable if there's a square footage limitation put on so that you can't have 500, 4 500 square foot buildings on a little lot. Either a minimum of some 750 or 1,000 square feet per individual building.
Well, that's actually with all due respect, Joe, that's actually illegal right now. The state has prohibited placing minimum square footages on dwelling units.
We're
How about
thinking,
maximum?
we're thinking maximum.
Maximum, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said, well, why did you say 5? Okay. Oh, okay. So that's what you were suggesting, is to put a cap on it, not a floor.
Yeah, so you can't have, somebody can't go in and build 3,000 square foot homes.
Well,
Yes. Go ahead, Doug.
I didn't expect that we were gonna get to middle housing tonight. So I was being prepared for our special meeting, and I was really just gonna take some pictures of similar projects in the area so that we could actually see things.
Okay.
But one of the impetuses to having zoning in the town of Woodstock was a 4-lot subdivision on Perrin Road on 2 acres. Which means a half an acre per site. They are ranch style homes. I've known a lot of people that have lived in those houses.
Yeah.
And when you drive down Perrin Road, you don't even notice they're there. And not only is that a small site, it's got a bunch of wetlands on it. So I think, but then today I was in Thompson looking at a site which had 4 houses on it, 2 stories, and it looks pretty intense. So I think it's something we should look at. I think we should give it as an option, but there is a downside. And I was gonna be prepared at the next meeting to have some pictures to share with the commission.
We can discuss that at the next meeting.
Yeah.
And just,
Yeah.
and we can all do our little individual, or drive around and look at different houses and, just so we get an idea of what we're looking at.
Yeah, and just so I'm not hiding anything, they're both, 2 of the projects are in Thompson. One's right at the corner, right above the old Rism Mill, and that's 3 duplexes put on a fairly tight site. So they are duplexes, which shows you the mass that you can get with duplexes. And then the other one is right above, is it St. Joe's? Is that the old school?
Oh, yeah.
Right above it,
Not
there's
the
a.
school itself?
No, up
it?
above,
Okay.
and it's right by near the baseball field.
Huh.
And those are 2 stories, houses, colonial houses.
Yeah, but they have public sewer there.
Yeah.
It's also, I'm not recommending another lake situation, but for size understanding, if you drive like through Lake Bungie, a lot of those lots are under a half of acre. So it's good perspective to see what size houses you can put on those lots for this conversation. I wouldn't recommend having that many of them together like that again, but it gives you a good perspective.
And one of my suggestions is to prohibit it from lake districts.
Yes,
right,
Because
which,
it just eliminates a lot of potential issues of small lots.
absolutely. I'm just saying to understand lot sizing, it's a good drive to take.
It is a good project.
And I wanted to mention to John that I like that focused development area kind of concept. It can start off fairly limited right now, but we can always expand it if the need seems like
We
it's
can't
there.
allow it with special permit elsewhere
Oh,
out of that.
right,
So it's
right.
not entirely shut off.
Out of the
from rest
question,
town.
right.
It's another step.
Right.
And I have a question for John. You say with the special permit, it's the discretion of the commission whether they issue it or not. Can we be arbitrary and capricious in how we make those decisions? Sure.
I
that's-
wouldn't recommend it. I would
Can you-
I would recommend you following your special permit criteria, which again, which again includes things like the character of the neighborhood and, disruption, noise, odors, dust, vibration, etc. Traffic. So if, you believe that, the lot would be overtaxed and it's an inappropriate place for that level of density for whatever reason, so I wouldn't, I would not in any circumstance encourage you to be arbitrary and capricious, but you would have broad discretion that is nested in your special permit criteria.
Okay, and then that just leads to the next question. Do we have to allow it by special permit?
No.
Can we say no right off the bat and just say, we're just
These
gonna
are-
allow it in focus district, see how that works out, and then if it plays out well, we could do special permit for other areas.
Yeah, these are your regulations, commissioners. So yeah, if you don't want to, you control the writing of the regulations. If you don't want to write in middle housing under special permit, don't do it.
Okay.
Sure, so, sounds good.
Yeah. So thank you. That was well written, John.
Yeah, but I meant to, this to be an iterative, rather gradual step in one direction or another. Can I, while we're dialoguing, Mr. Porter, do you have an opinion as to multiple buildings versus a single building? Other than both are possible physically?
I'm less concerned with duplexes as I am with quadplexes. I just think a quad is a pretty big building. And
Right.
I think at some point you switch from 4 separate buildings versus a quadplex. I think the impact of 4 separate buildings is less than a quadplex. You're gonna have to excuse me. My grandson is having some medical issues, so I'm just waiting for an update from the doctors, whether I have to take him to the hospital or not.
Oh dear.
So, yeah, I guess she's still looking at him. He's got potential appendicitis.
Okay, well, I hope he's okay.
He will.
My question, I guess, for the commission in considering the question of allowing, requiring, multiple units in a single building versus allowing multiple independent buildings is how you regulate the rest of your residential uses. So, there is no regulation that says someone cannot build a 5,000 square foot single family residence. That is absolutely allowable at pretty much anywhere you've got the square footage and the septic system. Or 3,000. And 3,000 could very easily be 4 750 square foot apartments. So it's sort of a question of really not about the square footage, but how it sort of lays on the site, I would think.
If we're talking a quadplex or 4 individuals, how are the septic systems? We're talking one septic or how many septic systems?
Well, yeah, that could be a challenge. I think in there's the public health allowance, you can hook up a primary residential building and an accessory apartment or, a garage apartment or whatever to the same septic system. But I believe 2 separate buildings sharing a same septic system kicks it into a DEP community system. So most developers I've seen, and Doug, you can verify this, if you're building multiple small buildings on a single lot, if you've got the space, it makes a lot more sense to give them each their own septic system.
John, do you know what they're doing in Eastford with those units?
I don't. I would put money on each of them have a little separate septic system.
Yeah. And I can ask, I know the excavator there, Gary Wittenberg's doing the work. I'm not sure. I can ask him and find out.
On a quadplex, is that,
if it's
I don't know,
if it's
the buildings are put up, is that individual or is the quadplex, does each one of them have their own septic?
a single building is considered a single unit from a septic standpoint, and you would just calculate the flows based on total bedrooms. And similarly, if you have a townhouse that are attached row houses that are basically all of the same single building footprint, that can have a single septic system also.
I have argued with the health department in one for duplexes. So I haven't ever argued beyond duplex.
Okay. Yes,
And
John.
obviously the review of that process would be the purview of NDDH or DEP if someone was foolish enough to trip down that path.
Yes, John Day.
So I raised at the last meeting, the possibility of changing the ADU allowable on 2.5 acres to 2 ADUs as opposed to 1. We never really got into it, and I was afraid that we were gonna sort of dilute and confuse the discussion that we're having right now, but I don't wanna go by that without having some discussion of that. To me, it's an easy thing to do, low risk. And, if you think of a house on 2.5 acres, having 2 ADUs is really not much different than having 1 ADU. In terms of aesthetics, et cetera, et cetera. And it might actually make a big difference. You can do that everywhere in the community zone.
But John, you just said if it was with septics, if there was more than one building, so if there was an ADU like in the main house and then an accessory building, that would be allowable on one septic. But if it was a main house with 2 accessory building ADUs, you would have to have a separate septic. So it depends on, right, because he just
Right.
said that. 3
Yeah,
buildings.
I believe the public health code would allow one accessory unit to be hooked up to the principal septic system. If you did a second, so basically a third building,
Right.
you'd
But
need
that
a second septic system.
That wouldn't prohibit it, that for
No,
second ADU.
you just have to, you just have to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, you just.
So I mean, that's not really our purview, that's up to the health department, right?
Yeah, that's and up to the engineer and the designer, homeowner, and the health department, how they figure that stuff out.
Is there a regulation on the book against the second ADU now? Is how our ADU regulations written?
We allow one.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I just didn't know how exactly. I couldn't remember exactly how it was written.
So I tried to think of bad things that could happen with that, and I couldn't think of really any bad things. Just seems like, if you're gonna sort of destroy the aesthetics anyway by putting an ADU. A single one, having two would actually be pretty much the same thing, but you would have another place for somebody to live. Anyway, how do people think about it?
I don't know.
I mean,
What's your input on that, Doug? You're the builder guy that,
I see an ADU as the same as another unit. When clients come to us to ask about having a mother-in-law apartment.
Yep.
The biggest issue we have is how do we keep it smaller than another house? Because mom and her stuff need room. So, in our regulations, I think right now, they cap it at 750 or 1,000 square
I
feet.
think it's a thousand.
1,000 square feet. A lot of times the in-law apartment wants to be more than 1,000 feet because they're coming out of a 2,000 square foot house. And they're downsizing, but they struggle to get into a garage at 660 square feet.
yep,
And I think the maximum square footage may be a way of dealing with it.
Yeah.
And yep. I've been doing it for a long time. I can tell you how you do it. All of a sudden you have another bedroom added to the main house that serves as the guest bedroom for the in-law apartment. They don't need that right away, but in the future, they're used to having guests at their house now, and they want to have a separate space for the guests. And you can't do it in the ADU because of the square footage requirement. Well, then you add on to the existing house. There are ways that people work the regulations, so I think we just need to be aware of those ahead of time. I just consider it an ADU as another unit. So that's the way I would consider yours. So you're basically saying you want to allow 3 units on a 2.5 acre parcel.
yep.
But again, with the ADU, there was discussion before that somebody could put an ADU on and that be rental.
Right.
But so if yes, if your mother-in-law's coming and okay, she can end up using this bedroom later. But if it's a total separate
Yes. You're not
rental, that's kind of,
It's
I'm
not
not getting around it that way.
Well, we're trying
And just to
to
be
think.
clear, okay.
We're trying to think of ways for people to stay in their homes.
Yeah.
And if they're able to build a rental unit, that might allow them to stay in their home.
Right.
I mean, and 2 of them would be better than 1. I guess that's how I think of it.
And to be clear, I think to Mark's question, the ADU is a fully independent unit. So it's a complete, separate entrance, full bedroom, full bathroom, full kitchen, right? So it's not just, it's not just an extra bedroom for an in-law or something like that. It's a standalone unit. Whether it's in the building or not, but just to be clear.
Well, I knew that as far as the ADU, but like just to use example, that if the ADU was too small, so to get around it, and the extra square footage, you add just a bedroom onto the main house.
Mhm.
But that's tough to just share that 1 bedroom with the ADU.
great as long as they're your family.
Right.
you have any other thoughts on, John Day's proposal? Well, I mean, that's interesting, John. I hadn't thought of that. We'll see if we can work on that, and then would there be any Other than we just say you can add another AU up to what our limit of 1,000 square feet, that would just kind of add that, change that, amend that regulation? John?
I'm sorry, say that again, Dave?
So that we would just amend that ADU regulation to say they could have two?
Yeah, I mean, that would be one approach. Sure, that would, yeah, you could do that. Sure.
Makes
Yeah.
it seem eminently simple, change the 1 to a 2.
Yeah.
And you would have ideally a lot more living space to offer people around.
Kids out of the house into their own house, but it's still. Close enough so you can babysit, right?
So could we
Is a
say that
mobile
we have,
home considered an
I mean, there's
ADU?
some houses here that are on limited smaller lots, would they have to limit it to a, if they're gonna have, add a second one, we could limit it to a bigger lot?
Well, so your current, yeah, you could do that. So your current regulations, I believe, require an acre to be qualified. So if you've got a property that's less than an acre, a residential property with a house on it, you cannot add an ADU. If you have more than an acre, you can. So even if it's, created in subdivision or existing non-conforming, like if you have a lot on one of the lakes that happens to be an acre, you could do an accessory apartment there. If you wanted to change that, you're getting awfully close to the regulation we're proposing right now, which is you can continue to have an ADU on an acre, but if you want more than that, in this case, a middle housing 2, 3, 4, you would need a 2.5 acre lot.
I think that's where my confusion with this comes in. So like you're saying, another ADU. What's the difference between 2 ADUs and a triplex? You know what I mean? There's 3 units. So to have more than one ADU, that's what we're discussing.
Right.
So
It's like a middle housing could be a primary unit and 2 ADUs.
Right.
If we allowed for multiple buildings, for instance, or you could have
Or if you're just
internal.
looking at units,
Yeah.
right? So,
Right. It's
a
we're
single family
yeah.
and an ADU is 2 units, and then middle housing would be, 2, 3. So you're already discussing, I don't know. They seem to overlap and I can't make them work together, I guess.
And again, I was looking to give examples next month. But just take the idea, and I think you'll see lots of this in the town. You have a house with a 2-car garage, and then they add a barn. For the extra 2 cars, now they got 4 cars. That could easily be converted to a house with 2 ADUs. And I don't think visually it would make a big impact. Much different than except for the parking issue, and I still don't know what the answer is on the parking. The parking suggestion right now is 1 space for every bedroom. I don't think I think we want to look at that and see if there's any other way for flexibility, because I don't think you want to have houses that have 6 parking spots, obviously.
Well, suppose the barn was like, you had a studio apartment in the loft, and then you had garage parking underneath.
Or you could have a parking area right in front of it, be fine.
Yeah.
It probably already has the parking area, to get turnarounds and things like that, but I think that works. I think that's a good opportunity to get 3 additional housing units in town without having a tremendous visual impact. It may have a traffic impact, it may have noise impacts and things like that, but visually, I think it works.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm happy to continue discussing if anyone has any further questions or comments, but I can do another iteration in which I would propose to allow for separate buildings and per Doug's suggestion or question, or remove it from the special permit criteria for now.
Yeah, let's see how it works before we. If we get requests for other places in town, maybe we can look at adding.
Yep.
Adding it to the rest of the area, away from the high intensity use areas.
I've the local realtors left. I have approached the local real estate people and asked them, there is a tremendous pent up demand for more housing, particularly less expensive housing. And I just think we need to be careful, because I think once you come out with the regulations, I think you're gonna see a demand. I think you're gonna see people acting on them pretty quickly. So I just.
Yeah.
Make sure
No,
we're,
let's be
we're
cautious.
comfortable with what we have, because I think we're gonna see applications very quickly.
Good point. Very smart. Do we have any?
Yeah, I think there, well, I don't necessarily want to make predictions either, but I'll note, the town of Columbia, Connecticut, just on the sort of fringes of Greater Hartford, recently passed, a multifamily regulation that essentially allowed for unlimited development if with a little bit of a minimum acreage, I think three acre minimum. And you know, open it up, come design it. If you can make the septic system work, great. And that's been in place for about 18 months and we haven't had a single application. But you know, markets are markets, and perhaps people aren't as eager to develop in Columbia as they might be in Woodstock. But I'd be surprised if anything happened fast. But you know, the idea is to encourage some change, to encourage some more diversity of housing opportunities.
Yes, Aaron.
We had talked at one point, because I have a note here that said that we may not want to allow these units at first to occur in lake districts, dirt roads, private roads, and scenic roads. Do we want to add any of those to this definition?
Well, right now, the definition is limited to
The
that
focus
John came up with was.
Yeah, but there's definitely dirt roads and scenic roads within that 3 miles of the schools. I can guarantee it.
Oh, okay.
There's lots of them.
Yes,
Not
there are.
lots, but there's at least a few I can think of.
Yes, you're right.
Sure.
Did you hear-
Well, yeah, Pulpit Rock Road is within 3 miles of the schools, and it's
Arvidson's,
Joy,
Joy.
That's a good point.
I don't remember the private road off New Sweden. Do you remember what that is?
Nightingale.
Yeah,
No, before that. It's a paved road. It's got
Is that-
5 houses.
Donnie D's development.
No, that was
no, that's Timber,
Moloff, Maldouef, I think was the developer.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Forgetting that stuff, Doug.
And then is East Woodstock within 3 miles of the school?
I'll tell you what, let me do a quick screen share for you guys. I think it is.
Yeah, this Sherman has 2 private roads, Hampshire Drive, and I can't remember what the other one is, at the top of, across from Wetherell's
Old Meadow.
Old Meadow Road.
Yeah.
So
Those
I'm
are
gonna
3 miles.
I'm gonna do a quick we'll grab the academy here because that's probably the most northerly.
Yeah.
And we'll do a radius.
But it also needed a state road, right, to be facing state road.
No, not within those.
There's 2 separate.
Oh, two.
It was or.
Three.
It wasn't.
It was we had done it as an or, so I don't know, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
3 miles.
refreshing. This is I basically picked the you know, the 1801 building or whatever that's called at the academy, and did 15,000 feet, basically just under 3 miles from there. So here's 169. This is, I believe, probably Woodstock Road right here. So yeah, so I think East Woodstock Green would be included if that's what this is. Yeah, that's right here. This is Dr. Pike. Yeah, so that would be included.
Does it get to the top of the hill on Prospect Street, John?
Let me pan down when my computer is cooperating.
Where's 197 on that?
It's south of what I think this is 197 right here. So it's
Okay.
south of there. Yeah, it's just south. Yeah, here's the top of the hill. This is Prospect and 197 up here. Although I'll note, Doug, I set my radius at 15,000 feet. 3 miles is probably closer to 16.
Yeah. I just think the exercise is what the commission needs to do. As we look at these regulations, and we appreciate that you can do that. Maybe it's 2.5, maybe it's 3.1, I don't know. But I think that restriction is helpful.
Yep.
You know, Aaron just mentioned, that looks like 3 miles is a lot,
Big area.
but we can start with something and as a group discuss it, and decide where we come up with.
But yeah, this is, you know, it's an exercise to show how, without sort of creating new zones, you could add, you know, these verbal criteria to include or exclude eligibility.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be 2 miles. We could remove scenic roads. Yeah. Although then I don't know. Yeah. It becomes an arms race to get every road named scenic so that the neighbors don't have to deal with multifamily. And you know,
It's already,
hallelujah for all of us. You know, we've successfully killed the threat. So yeah, anyway, so that's the exercise.
Yes, Doug.
of course, no, I forgot. I was thinking about the push to get scenic roads, and some neighbors have done that to me. Thinking that if they get it designated as a scenic road, the project won't get through. Scenic road doesn't have that kind of impact. Oh, yes, we have a sewer moratorium in this town of Woodstock still, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So do we really want to put it into our regs, anything to do with sewers or water lines, when the town is on record of discouraging?
Well,
Use-
that's expansion of the district, but if you're already in the district, you're eligible to hook up, I believe.
No, you're not.
No? Oh.
Limited flow, I believe.
No, because we had
They
an
have
issue
a-
on Woodstock Hill where they thought they were gonna be able to hook into the sewer line, and sewer commission,
If you can put in a septic, they deny you.
It is an avoidance ordinance. They
I think
really,
they have 4 more grandfathered.
Well, those the houses on Woodstock Hill, like the district was extended along a linear path. Like all the houses on the hill weren't included in the district. Like it was a
No,
linear
it's-
path that captured the school, not the whole hill.
captured the school and the inn,
Right.
but the
But
inn
yeah, so but like
sold a couple lots and thought they were gonna be able to hook up to the septic system, and they were not allowed to. They had to-
that might be a different answer from we're not allowing anyone who's already in the district to hook up. That's a different judgment.
Not
I think
really.
they have 3 or 4 allowable, they know who can hook up, like it's preset from the
Right.
beginning.
That's the mapped district,
If their
which is
systems-
that's sort of what I was referring to. And I can check with WPCA about their policies, but I wrote this reg with the intent that if you are in the district, you're in the mapped district, you can connect.
Not necessarily that they could connect to they aren't gonna be able to connect to the sewer system.
Yeah.
And actually, that reminds me that wetlands, commission asked me to keep them appraised of and let them know what we were planning as far as creating more density in our plans. So they don't want to get blindsided. So.
They can read the minutes,
I was gonna say, watch the video, read the
Well,
minute.
I get a very polite request.
or they could also talk to their wetlands officer.
I think, I heard he's difficult to deal with.
He is. Well, he's always telling builders that they can't get a permit.
Yeah, are you clear on where we are, John?
Yeah, clear enough for now. I have enough information to do another version.
Okay. Okay, anybody else have any more comments on the multifamily housing? Just out of curiosity, is there any comments from the people that are here anything, any input?
There is a law, I don't know if it's 802 or 811 going in that the federal government and the state will fund affordable housing projects and allow municipalities to extend their sewer where it is a moratorium, as long as it is affordable housing. Now, affordable housing rule changes and I'm not following it 100%, but they are, and Putnam is applying to see if they can get a grant to extend their sewer, along with Killingly, Coventry, Wyndham, and there's another town doing it.
Yeah, but there's many of the qualifications for affordable housing, we don't meet just on transportation and availability of
Every
services.
town in the state of Connecticut, all 169 towns do qualify for this law.
Well, for that law, but if for the other restraints on what you need to have affordable housing, they want transportation,
No, not this. This is.
No, I know, I understand what you're saying, but they have to meet the other criteria for affordable housing to to get this to that stage, I believe.
So for the affordable housing law that they are pushing through, Blumenthal and Courtney are pushing through in the state of Connecticut, it is based on income. So if Doug builds, I don't know, Doug, you build a 60-unit housing subdivision, everybody has their own house, say on a half acre. As long as 10% or 15% of those houses are in the affordable housing. So in this one subdivision that I'm thinking about right now, the house is sold for $350. The affordable housing units, there were 6 of them. Those 6 sold for $275,000. They have to have the same material inside the house, it's just smaller, and you can tell. And they can't be all stacked together, they have to be throughout the subdivision. There's one in Colchester, there's two in East Hampton. A developer did sue the town and won. But that is coming, and the sewer systems and municipalities are getting the money. It's no longer based on just income. They're trying to make everybody be able to get it.
Okay.
Right? But there is a big law, and John, I'm sure you're gonna stay on top of those. But a lot of towns are filing for it for the sewer side. To offer it, and Putnam is one, and Putnam is up there similar to Wyndham because they are a disadvantaged community. Thompson right now is building affordable housing all the way down the river. And they are getting money to do that.
If you have some reference to the law you're referring to, I'd be interested. As far as I can tell, you're blending a couple of different jurisdictions and a couple of different law or incentive programs. Because the one in Colchester and in East Hampton you're referring to is, I think, just basically 830G.
Those two are just examples of affordable. I was just with Courtney last week we had a meeting for
Right,
2 hours.
But you know, the feds, Courtney, Blumenthal, Murphy, don't control local land use. They would maybe control incentive programs for sewer funding, which is different from a law.
It is all the funding, but it is a law. We got it at work, the 802. I can get it at work.
8002 is now Public Act 25-1. Does not require sewer hookups. There's actually very little it requires. It's primarily incentives and a few regulatory changes for municipalities. So if you could provide a little bit of clarification of the specifics, that would be very, very helpful.
Okay.
But I mean, broadly speaking, there's 2 approaches. There's the carrot and the stick. The carrot being, if you are going to provide affordable housing, we will provide funding to help you extend sewer infrastructure. The House Bill 8002, Public Act 25-1, did include the creation of a grant and aid program to assist municipalities financially with things like extension of sewer lines. That is not in place yet. The bill passed, but there is no funding and there is no grant program yet in place. If you're talking about a federal program, that's very different. My guess is nothing has actually passed, but that may be coming forward. That's primarily going to be an incentive rather than a requirement or a mandate of municipalities. Anyway, but yeah, I'd be curious to hear.
But the funding is there. It's earmarked for all of Connecticut for different grants.
Why don't you send in that stuff and then we can,
Sure.
everybody gets to speak. Okay, let's go to home occupations. We had that one that I
So
saw.
just- Yep, it's dog groomer, 70 Crystal Pond, basically no real changes. One dog at a time, one person at a time. Also just wanted, and you know, they're claiming no real impacts. The thing I would point out, this is Crystal Pond Road, number 70 Crystal Pond Road. I'm putting it on the screen. It's an enormous lot, 13.5 acres. And they're basically proposing, you know, one car dropping off a dog at a time. So, you know, obviously it's an administrative approval, but my sense is this is a real low impact on a pretty big lot.
Okay, thank you, John.
Mhm.
Okay. Yes. Can you state your name, please?
David Dawson is my name. My question is, we're going through all these changes, through, zoning and approval here, and, I have never heard, what the estimation, the number of units, you're planning to put into this town.
We don't have an estimate. It's kind of, we're trying to create it. We're trying to create the situation where people can build units. We can't, I don't think we can put a limit on the number of them that are built. So we're just trying to, right now, there's no opportunity for anybody to really to put in a duplex or a quadplex. So we're just trying to make it so that people can put in, so that more like attainable housing would be built, or, and because we've heard from over the years, it's a large demand, people are looking for places to live that they can afford to live. So there's no numbers, or aren't looking for a specific number. We're trying to create the environment where they can be built. And that's why we're being so cautious about where we allow it, and we want to see where it goes. We don't want to lose control over what's happening.
Right. And to just be clear, there's also in the current regulations, the subdivision regulations are as of right. So people with a large piece of land, lots of people with large pieces of land could subdivide and put up a bunch of houses, as of right, with no, like special permit review. In addition, anyone with 10 acres or more are currently allowed to, let me stop the share so you guys can see me. We currently have a multifamily allowance in town. So anyone over 10 acres can create, a minimum of 10 multifamily dwelling units. That's a special permit process, but it's on the books right now and allowable. In addition, as we mentioned, 830G, which is a state affordable housing appeal statute, exists and hasn't existed for almost 40 years in Connecticut, that essentially would allow, again, in the circumstance that someone is willing to set aside 30% of the development as affordable, can essentially build an unlimited number of units, assuming, septic system and water services are allowed. So there are already multiple paths on the books, in Woodstock and in most communities in Connecticut, to build a great deal of additional housing, should they choose. What the commission is exploring is, putting their thumb on the scale to encourage certain types in certain areas to be a little bit easier than it was previously. But this is a residential town and people can build residences.
Well, my point is that, now would be the time to limit that, or at least come out with a number, before we pass these laws, that, contractors can come in and it may be an unstoppable, move here. There's so much involved because, there's no sewers basically in the town except going to the academy. I live across the street from the academy. We're not connected to it. So it's, I just don't see that, that we're going in the direction that, we can at least keep control of the building here. And the fact that this whole thing is going to take place on a 3-mile radius around the school, which is, I live across from the school. The traffic is crazy. If there was ever going to be a place not to put it, it would be right there. We have 2 hours in the morning that, people can't even, get across the street. But that's just my 5 cents.
Okay. Thanks for your input. And before any of this happens, there will be public hearings. We finally decide on what we want to do. We'll have public hearings to get input too.
I think that would be great because this whole thing is passed in Hartford without any public hearing, no public sentiment whatsoever. And it scared me to see these meetings because I've been to a few of them. And there's really no public people here. And this, I think, is the most important change in this town ever. I mean, it's gonna change everything in this town. And, so I just, you know, this is a very capable committee and, you know, I just look forward to seeing, you know, some kind of containment, you know, rather than, you know, just, seeing how much gasoline we could pour on this fire, you know.
You bet. Thank you. for your-
If I might, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, John.
just as a point of fact, I know people like to blame Hartford. Hartford isn't a thing. Hartford is the capital, and it's made up of representatives of all of you and all of the people of Connecticut and all of the regions of Connecticut. And as far as the reference to the bill passing without public hearing, I believe there were 42 sections of the new bill, 8,002. 38 of them had public hearings during the course of the session. They were later combined, but these were not alien concepts that had never seen the light of day. They were given public hearings, sir.
Yes, Doug.
And once we come up with a guidelines or an outline of what we're thinking of doing, my feeling is I'm gonna ask our advisor consultant to give us a build-out analysis. What is the potential? If we say within 3 miles of the schools and it's gonna be an acre and a half or 2-acre lots, how many potential housing units are we looking at? Because I think we need to know that scale before we make a decision. Because I worry about it. I don't want to see us overrun with all kinds of new homes and new units. Not necessarily, I have no problem with people having a house, a home to live in. But we do have to look at the impact in the overall town. But it's kind of too broad of a topic right at the moment to say what the impact is. Once we narrow it down, we come up with we think our definitions are. I think John would be more than capable of figuring out what kind of a build out we could have. Is that right? True, John?
Yeah, we can definitely do a build out. I think it's a question of what assumptions you want to make. That, you know, a true build out, it would be every lot capable of being developed is fully developed, right? So then to really ground truth that, you would probably want to do a full build out assuming 830G, like if, you know, up until the point where the town was 10% affordable.
But I don't think we've
because that is currently capable by law, Doug.
We haven't had a single project in Woodstock that's gone under that. So
exactly.
I don't see
exactly. So the question is, you know, how do you know that just loosening these regulations are going to cause the flood when this law has been on the books for 40 years and zero developers have taken advantage of it? I'm happy to do the exercise of a build out.
Or it's really just identifying what the magnitude of what we're proposing is.
Yeah.
So, but once we got to get those agreement on the commission of what the guidelines we're looking for. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
So
You froze, John.
Dave,
Yes.
I'd just like to comment to Dave, well, if I could.
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
I think that what you're raising is part of the challenge that we face, trying to look at most of the town's response, often from surveys and doing the POCD, that there's the desire to maintain the rural agricultural character of Woodstock, countered with similar survey responses saying there's a need for housing for people who are downsizing, new people coming in, trying to find housing that's affordable for a starting family. So we hear both sides of it, and I think there's still strong support to, as much as we can, promote the agricultural aspect of Woodstock, but still look at ways we can fit in some of the other desires. And this middle housing that we're talking about and trying to think about regulations for it is a way of trying to meet that a little bit. And as we've been saying, it's a very cautious approach right now, trying to limit the area where that can happen, just to see what will take place. So we're trying to balance at least those two aspects.
Yeah, I share your your fear on this.
Yes.
And, you know, the other thing that, nobody has mentioned is, the center of this area is the, historic district.
Yeah.
Like, the historic district is gonna allow any of this.
If they get
I just-
if they get a certificate of appropriateness, they would, but they would have to go through the process like anyone else.
If it's appropriate to have 5 small houses around the historic house, is that what you're saying?
Or convert a very large house in the historic district to apartments, essentially, which a lot of the large houses around here had been, at one time in their life. So that might be something that will be a question that comes up within the historic district on how we might address that.
Okay. Are we ready to move forward on the communications ZEO report?
Okay, sure.
I think, we're all set. Yeah, we
Yeah,
went
no,
past-
I have what I need. You had opened it up to the public. That's
Yeah, no,
okay.
yeah, I just think they've been coming for a while. I just wanted to get some.
David, does that cover your citizens' comments?
I think, did everybody's? I'm sorry, did I miss?
No, I think we're good, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Doug.
Yeah, I
That
just,
CEO report. There we
Sure.
are.
So I put the ZEO report on the screen. There's one copy, I think, at your table, Mr. Chairman, but not that much to report. A couple of additional permits due single family based on recent developments. The first of the Andrews Road subdivision homes is being built, as is the free split that preceded the subdivision on Rawson Road that you guys just approved tonight. They had previously gotten a free split, and they're pulled a permit for that. I'd note a couple of things. Again, we're still working on the develop section of the plan of conservation and develop. That draft will be done, of that section will be done for the March meeting. And been going back and forth with First Selectman Paquette on a proposed citation ordinance, which would include a faster route towards penalties and enforcement of several land use issues, which would be zoning, wetlands, scenic road, and historic district, I believe. I'm trying to remember if there's a fifth. But yeah, so we're working on a citation ordinance draft, and when it's ready to be reviewed prior to going to public meeting, I believe First Selectman Paquette would like this commission to weigh in on it also, but it's being drafted right now.
Okay.
That's what I've got.
David,
Yes.
John, have you had an opportunity to look at 6 and 8 Stonebridge Road to see what permit is allowed on that property? What uses, you thought it was a bed and breakfast, but we weren't sure?
Yeah. No, Doug, I'll acknowledge that sort of slipped my mind as a to-do list. I will add that to my to-do list for Monday.
I appreciate it, thanks.
We might have to follow up with Azalula Farm.
Sorry?
Azalula Farm.
Oh, yeah, the wedding venue on top of the.
Yeah, whether they'll come back to reapply for a special permit. You were going to have a conversation, John, I think.
They're working with Attorney Breulard right now on a strategy.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's they've cut me out of their communications, and they're huddling up with their attorney.
Okay. Has their special permit lapsed then?
They withdrew.
Okay.
But they have some permit, I guess, right, for activities?
For
You're talking 2 different things right now, I think.
Yeah.
No, he's up on Public Rock Road.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're talking about Ken Rappaport? I thought you were talking about 6 and 8 Stonebridge.
No.
Oh,
We moved on.
well, we moved
He
on.
moved on, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, sorry. Ken called me last week and apologized for not being on top of stuff. He's busy. But understands that the commission is willing to waive a lot of the special permit requirements, but understands that he needs a new special permit to remove some of the conditions that were imposed, 2 years ago at this point. And he's working on it, and he'll get to it when it's convenient.
But does
But
that mean?
for now, the current level of restrictions still applies. So the 80 person, and has to get the constables at the corner of 171, all of that stuff still applies.
John, my understanding was that expired, where it was basically was sort of limited. You're supposed to come here and then.
It's a special permit.
It's a special permit. It runs with the land. He was late in getting you his annual report, but to pull his special permit, he ultimately did deliver it, the report. You guys would have to have an affirmative vote to find him in breach of the terms and conditions and pull his special permit. But as far as I know, you guys have not proceeded with that path.
So he can continue to do the 50 events a year or whatever we agreed on before?
Correct. What he's allowed to continue with the parameters of his initial approval.
Correct.
Budget report,
We weren't happy with putting this up already.
no, they tell us how much money is available. We don't spend, the only thing we got money to spend on is this,
You've got
the Planning and Zoning Commission annual conference. And then what's the Planning and Zoning Commission staff workshop? Oh, that's
online.
that's online. And
Oh, are you talking about the correspondence?
well, there's two, there's one, the correspondence, yeah, I moved on to, I passed
Okay.
over, but you don't,
So this is a free commissioner workshop. I put it up
Okay.
on the screen. This is basically my firm, which serves in the neighborhood of 30 towns, and Haller and Sage, who is also your land use attorneys, serve about the same 30 or 40 towns. The two of our groups decided to get together and do a commissioner training for our client towns about this new law that was passed that we've been talking a little bit about today, to kind of dissect exactly what's involved, what municipalities have to do, and when. So we've set a time, 7:00 on Wednesday, March 11th. And it's virtual via Zoom. It's free to sign up, but it's again for our client communities, Woodstock included. So if you're interested, I would encourage you to sign up, and this also would count for I'm guessing 2 hours of your required commissioner training.
okay. Then also under correspondence, we have the annual conference at the AquaTurf that we talked about last meeting or last.
Right, that's
meeting.
the Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Commissions or agencies, whatever that's called.
Which Joseph and I went to last year. It was pretty interesting. And I had some interest from, I was interested, Tim, Mark, Joe Adeletta, and anybody else interested in going? Because I think I have to submit names and
What's the date? Yes, I'm interested, but what's the date?
March 26th.
Yeah, I think I'm interested, but.
I mean, let me check on that too, Dave.
Okay,
Dave, I'm interested.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, have you noted the keynote speaker?
Yes, we noted that last time. It's Delia.
Uh,
We can ask lots of questions, right?
Yeah. Okay. I think, is that it for correspondence? I don't have anything else for correspondence.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And then we'll need a motion to
Motion to adjourn?
adjourn from somebody.
Second?
There we go. You get it, yeah, Amy made the motion to adjourn and Mark seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?